Like, I wonder if it's almost like thinking about welcoming them into your brand house. So like when they walk into it, it's like, are they overwhelmed by the fact that it all works together and matches and it's an amazing experience versus it kind of like walking down a road and seeing little bits and pieces? So I'm just kind of trying to make it a whole kind of thing that people go in and they're like, yeah, this is it. I'm here in her world, and what's in Ellie's world.
The voice you just heard is Ellie Compton. Ellie is an architect and artist who runs a Christchurch-based art studio called Maker of Chaos. She collects people's life stories and weaves them into chaotic and whimsical worlds of art that encourage imagination and discovery. Ellie's storytelling and artistic style is expressed through framed artworks, murals, skateboards, fashion, and commercial collaborations. Each work uses black ink line drawing to intertwine architecture, playfulness, and storytelling to command the viewer's attention and provoke them to stop their busy lives in order to understand people better. In this episode, you're going to learn how to make art competitions worth your time, tips and tricks for growing your following as a new business, the value of a complete brand experience, how to use your brand in the way that you write, what pricing strategies look like for products versus services, the power of positioning and how to think about yours, promoting educational content versus content about your art, and so much more. Now, if you are ready, let's start the episode and talk to Ellie. Okay, welcome to the podcast, Ellie. I am so excited that you are here with us.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yay! Okay, well, the people in the introduction, I told them all about what you do and all the amazing work that you are creating. But I want to go back a little bit, hear a little bit about how you got here. So I know, and I did a little, done the research and everything. You started as an architect, but I want to know how you kind of got into creating your own art from your kind of architecture background. So tell me about how it developed into creating your own art.
Yeah, cool. So, I studied architecture in Wellington and had always wanted to be an architect like my whole life. So it was one of those like baby dreams, which is kind of a weird baby dream to have to be an architect. But anyway, studied architecture and got all the way through to my 5th year, which is how many years you have to do. And in the last year, you get to do a project for the whole year that kind of frames your thesis. And as a part of that project, I went through a process of doing a lot of model making and testing ideas and physically drawing out ideas. And what came out of that was this series of drawings that look kind of similar to what I do now, but essentially was the start of it all. So it was looking at a technical architectural drawing type, which is called a section cut. So it's like taking a section through a building and you get to see all the fun activity that's happening on the inside of a building. So I was looking at drawings that kind of framed that in a really interesting way. And then randomly, I actually don't even know why I did it, but I entered a drawing competition with all of these drawings and I collaged them together. So they kind of overlapped. They looked really edgy, quite fun. And it was all black and white. It's about an A1 size drawing. And I entered it into this competition called the Parkin Prize, which is a drawing competition, not exclusive to drawing. Lots of other artists and painters and sculptors do it. And I was picked to be a finalist, which was amazing. And what that meant was that you got to be in a gallery for a number of weeks. And they would have this fancy opening with canapes and wine, and they would select a winner who'd win $20,000 as the package. And then they would also have a bunch of runner-ups and things like that. But so this was how novice I was. I went along on opening night, and me and my friend who I'd brought along to drink all the wine and eat all the food with me, we went up to my artwork and saw that there was this like red little dot next to it. And anyone that knows any kind of art or has been probably anywhere in the world with this kind of thing would know that it means that it's sold. And I walked around that room asking everybody what the red dot meant, and it was really embarrassing. Probably not that embarrassing, but at the time I'm like so unsure of what it meant, and everyone was like, I think it means it's sold. And of course, because I had no clue, I went straight up to the gallery owner and was like, hey, can I find out who bought my artwork? And apparently that's very unkosher, like you're not meant to do that. But they were like, well, actually, we wouldn't usually tell you, but because it's opening night, and of who bought it, the person who bought it was Chris Parkin, which is the man who runs the whole competition.
Wow. Yeah.
And he famously as well used to own a huge hotel in Wellington, which was, it's now the QT Hotel, but it was the Museum Hotel, which is a very artsy, beautiful boutique hotel filled with incredible art. So I was like pretty shocked and like crazed that this man who's a huge collector, had bought my work. So from then, I didn't win any prizes, but that was okay. I was pretty blown away by it anyway. And yeah, from then I had a couple of people saw it in that gallery and then asked for a commission. So I probably had 2 from there. And I just started by essentially telling stories of those people. So it became these kind of crazy black and white line drawings that explored kind of a cross section of a world that they otherwise wouldn't kind of get to see into. So that's where it all started.
Yeah, amazing. I love that without sort of knowing the world or knowing how big of a deal almost it was,
Yeah.
that you still put yourself out there. I feel like sometimes there's, this pressure to know everything or understand everything or get it perfect or, be in the exact right place or whatever, all these things that we feel like as artists we need to do. But or we hold ourselves back from doing that. But I love that you were just like, no, I'm just going to enter this thing.
I think sometimes being naive is actually a real big superpower, because it just makes you do things without being scared about it. And I don't know if it's an age thing, but as you get older, you start to overthink things more and feel like there's so much pressure on it, when, looking back, all I did was take some work I'd already done and just spent maybe half an hour putting it together. And that's something that anybody could do. Everyone's probably got some kind of work they've done somewhere and they can grab it and it's probably awesome, and maybe just submit it or change it a little bit. And you just never know is kind of my motto now. You just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the worst that could happen is that no one buys it and, you don't win a prize, but at least you've maybe learned something or you've had a new experience or something like that. That's what I always find with, artists applying for funding or applying for markets or whatever it might be. It's like, you might not get that thing or you might not get the spot, but it's practice, it's an experience, it's, you might make a connection out of it. It's not all for nothing, even if you try. So it's always worth trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And every person that every competition I enter or submission I go for, I the amount you get out of the amount you actually win, sorry, is
Yeah.
slim. But I mean, it's looking at how it can benefit you. So, every competition you enter, you go, okay, well, there's a panel of maybe 5 judges that are very
Mm,
influential, and immediately they know your
yeah.
name. And it's like, you might not win, but they know your name. So next time it comes up, then they'll be like, I saw that person, or I know their work. Or so it's kind of just becoming that annoying voice in the back of their head, and how you can do that the most possible ways.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you said that you got, a couple of commissions from that first artwork that in that first competition. I am curious then, so you said you started telling those stories and sharing that stuff. So then how did you sort of grow that initial following from there and then start getting those first few clients from that?
Yeah, I think my growth was quite slow and steady, purely because at the time I didn't actually think that it would be a career for me. Partly for 2 reasons. I still really wanted to pursue my career as an architect, and I also don't think I'd seen as many successful artists in Australasia even that had really been able to make a good income from it. So I don't think I believed it was a possibility. So maybe that's why I didn't push as hard as I do say now, or challenge people as much as I do now. But how I grew that, essentially I was just a bit annoying to people.
Yeah.
I would so anytime I had some beautiful friends and family that actually would pay me for work. So it was great. I was underpaid, but I didn't feel that need to do free work all the time, which was really great because I think that's the first step in trying to be valued as an artist. But from that, every time I did an artwork, I'd be like, please post on your social media, please post on your Facebook if you liked it, tag me, say what you love about it. And that was just like a definite thing that I'd follow up after doing any commission. And so that slowly then meant my audience grew to quite a different or diverse range of people. Even now, I don't think that I have an avatar, like a brand avatar, that we talk about. Everyone has their like ideal client. I've really struggled to figure that out because everyone's story that I tell is so unique and different. It's really just more of, I still can't even really put it into words. Who's my client? Who's my target audience? But so essentially it was just asking people to spread the word themselves through who I knew. I did a little bit of social media here and there, but I was also entering competitions, paid competitions. So I was also very wary of my time. And then the next big one I got was with actually the QT Hotel. They did an amazing competition, which they were doing a whole floor of their new hotel over, renovating it. And they got, I think, about 30 artists. Well, it was a competition. You applied and you got to take over a whole room and like make it your whole flavored room. So like there's an Ellie Compton room, which is just crazy to me. So I got through to that and then was part of that whole project, which was amazing, and got to put my art in there. So that again boosted who I was getting in front of. And doing those bigger kind of competition moments actually were the thing that I think helped my legitimacy in the corporate and commercial world. So I think I was starting to bridge that gap of like, I love doing the commissions, but I really want to be taken seriously as an artist and to do really fun, funky stuff too, which I think, the competitions can be quite like that, but there is definitely a fine line between, there's a lot of people asking for exposure in exchange for work, and I really strongly disagree with it, but each to their own. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, I see a lot of the time now, brands or companies putting out competitions and then getting a lot of backlash for, asking for basically free work now. So it's kind of, what do you recommend for artists when they are looking for a competition or looking at competitions, and how to decide whether it is like worth their time or not worth their time, or how would you decide what competitions to enter?
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends on what stage your creative business is in, but I always kind of teach on at the moment is like when working up a entry for a competition or even a pitch to a new client, I'm like, let's max it out at only an hour. Like, don't spend more than an hour on this thing. The concept, I think you can sometimes like spend a few days thinking about. Sure, that's fine. But the actual entry, I always would only use all of my previous work. So just have a package as well as your website. And then I would do a quick sketch, like, a sketch explaining the composition of it, where things are going, what your idea is. And then I just write a little blurb. And it's funny, that's literally what I did for the QT Hotel entry. I said, this is what I can do. These are examples of my work. This is what I'm thinking. And it was a sketch of like a bed head and the shape of what I wanted to do above it.
Yeah.
And I got the competition job. And I think that it's trusting that the people selecting these things have a creative eye as well. And so when they see an overall concept matched with your original works that you've already done, they can kind of put those together. And I think sometimes we often overcomplicate it and feel like we have to have this perfect, beautiful thing. But really, if your concept matches their values and who they are, you'll get it, I think, in my opinion. Well, you should.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense and makes it a lot more achievable rather than spending, hours and hours crafting a new piece from scratch for each individual competition or each pitch or whatever. I think that's an amazing approach.
Yeah. And another point I'd just quickly make is that there's been in the past some, I say, free work, like even charity work or competition work that I've done that would verge on being like, oh, should she be doing this? But actually realizing I was like, okay, this is actually going to be amazing for my social media. It's going to be great for my portfolio. And so I was really matching it with how is this working for me? And so I think immediately if you ask yourself, is this competition entry going to work for me in any way? And if it doesn't, I possibly wouldn't waste my time.
Yeah.
Unless it was a huge, huge client you really wanted to work with. But in that case, you probably, the concept you work up will be working for you anyway. So
yeah, definitely. Okay, I think that's amazing. Great advice already. Man, out the gate, so good. Okay, let's switch tact a little. I want to talk to you about your like visual brand. So obviously we've talked a little about your like style that you've created, but I want to know, so in the beginning when you first started, did you do any branding work in the beginning? What did that look like to set up your business and your brand? Did you do anything like that?
Yeah. So initially I didn't, again, because I kind of just fell into it.
Yeah.
Um, so, I had a masterclass last night where I was telling people how even the first artwork I delivered to a client, I didn't even wrap it in bubble wrap because that's how fresh that I was.
Yeah.
Very embarrassing. But probably about maybe 1 year in, I had started to work up branding. I love graphic design, so I'm not a graphic designer, but I do feel that I have a little bit of an eye for it. So I had these essentially kind of tags made up that were like shopping tags that I would attach to every single artwork that I sold that had my logos on it. And I'd worked up a brand tagline, which was Little Piece of Chaos. And so I think I maybe again unintentionally or intentionally just came up with kind of a slogan that I really drummed home to people, which then turned into me being the maker of chaos. So it started out with just Ellie Compton. I'd done a logo that I was pretty happy with at the time, but it was just to do with my initials, and everything was black and white, obviously. I got stickers for all my packaging. So from the beginning, although my packaging would have been very starter, I still had a complete look. So I recognized that the delivery of an artwork had to be an experience, and that was what was really special, and it made also the piece itself feel more expensive. So I was really aware of that. Having a brand experience around your product was just like that bow on the top and was actually really needed as well. It's kind of not an extra. If I believe now, if you don't have a brand experience around your art as an artist, you're leaving money on the table. There's like immediately your work could go up a lot if you have a brand experience. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I just clip that part.
Amazing.
So good.
Amazing.
I wanted to ask you about the like maker of chaos thing, because that's like your studio name, right? And slash like a tagline for you.
Yeah.
So did that just develop out of that like little piece of chaos thing? And how did you decide like, okay, I think this might be my studio name now?
Yeah, so I started out with kind of that tagline with Little Piece of Chaos. It was interesting because it was more came out of conversation. So people would often be like, oh my gosh, your work's so chaotic. Like, and like not necessarily in a bad way, but I think people were quite like, oh my gosh, it's a lot to take in, which is the
Yeah.
point now of my whole work. But
Mm-hmm.
at the time, chaos and being chaotic and our lives being chaotic has quite a negative spin on that word. And I think I really wanted to just turn it on its head. And now I really celebrate the fact that our lives are chaotic. Like everyone's lives are chaotic, no matter
Yeah.
what you've got going on. And so I kind of love that it just kind of celebrates people's lives that are messy. And then I can
Yeah.
turn it into this piece of art that then makes them go, oh my goodness, my chaotic life is actually really awesome. And so yeah, I just then was like, I'm going to be the maker of chaos. And
Yeah.
so it kind of all worked in that respect. And I try and use it through my language as well in my emails. And I have a phrase that I say, you're ready to get lost. And so it's again a bit sassy, trying to make people like get lost in the chaos in a great way and getting lost in their own story. Because I think that people also forget their whole, like all the awesome things they've done in their life. So
Mm.
the art is trying to celebrate all of the amazing chaos that they haven't really thought about for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that but you just mentioned about like using it through like your language and your emails and stuff like that, because I think that's something people don't think about as
Mm,
part of their brand, right? Is
mm,
like it comes through everything, and you can create this whole world if you include those little moments if of like a little sentence here and there that's like, yeah, like about getting lost, or like,
yeah.
all these little moments of like wonder, or like little detail, like, oh, there's a little bit of my brand and here's a little bit of my brand, just all create this entire world where people can kind of like feel your brand. So I love that you're like thinking about that too. It's like such a cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of I think the challenge for me at the moment is getting past the thought that I'm the only one that sees every little bit of content I put out, every
Mm.
little word that I say. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, I sound so annoying saying I'm the maker of chaos or chaos this or get lost that. But actually, everyone needs to hear it over and over and over again. And so that's the challenge I'm kind of facing at the moment is getting over myself and
Yeah.
being like, just preach it, like say it over and over again, because that's what also creates a brand experience. And that's what makes my brand recognizable at the top of someone's head. Like someone says, get lost, mate. And they go, hey, Ellie says that, like, I don't
Yeah,
know, those
yeah.
kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's like the last podcast that you did.
Exactly. And I think
Yeah.
like it's not that people are specifically going, "Oh, look, Ellie put her brand words in that sentence." It's more just that
Mm,
they're experiencing the whole brand. Like it's that
exactly.
they're having those brand experiences every time, but it's not that they're consciously being like, "Oh, Ellie's using her brand here." you know?
Yeah, it's almost kind of like I wonder if it's almost like thinking about welcoming them into your brand house. So
Yeah.
like when they walk into it, it's like, are they overwhelmed by the fact that it all works together and matches? And it's an amazing experience versus it kind of like walking down a road and seeing little bits and pieces. So
Mm.
I'm just kind of trying to, yeah, make it a whole kind of thing that people go in and they're like, yeah, this is it. This is I'm here in her world, and what's in Ellie's world. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the brand house is a great way to think about it. I love
Yeah.
that.
Weird with visualization, but
Yeah,
it
no, that's
works.
great. Okay, so you obviously communicate like all of those things that you do through the maker of chaos and everything. And speaking of what you do commissions, commercial work, digital campaigns, you sell your products. I am curious about how you think about like what products or services to add to your business. So I'm assuming you started with commissions. How did you figure out like how to add, different kinds of commercial work, and then maybe to offer prints? Like how do you as a artist figure out how to add certain things to your business?
Yeah, I mean, I started out my first edition, I guess, excluding kind of competition work. My first edition was trialing prints, which a lot of artists do. And at the time, they went amazing. So for the first 3 years that I was doing my business, which was still part-time at this stage, it was on the side of my main job, I started doing prints and they went really well. And the funny thing is, in the last 3 years, they're dead. They're not. They're not selling.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting phase to get into because I think the one thing I've been telling myself recently is you don't have to keep doing the things that you've been doing in the past because people don't actually expect it from you. It's almost just like this preconceived idea in your head that you think, well, I've done prints every year at Christmas for the last 6 years or 7 years. I must do one again.
Yeah.
But really, last Christmas when I did a huge release, I did an amazing marketing campaign. It was so fun. And I sold 10 on the drop, whereas like years before, you'd sell 60 on the first day. So it's just learning to pivot at the right times. But to answer your question, I started with prints. I then gradually did murals, but that was only because, again, I think they saw the competition work and it was also what I enjoyed. I love seeing it on a large scale. So it was a mixture of adding things that I knew I really enjoyed, also that paid really well. Immediately when you go into a lot of the commercial big stuff, it starts paying well. So you're doing I'm not saying less work, but on a time basis, you're probably doing less time in the work to get paid more. And for me, it was that the commercial stuff started teasing my creativity a lot more. So it was stretching me, and that's probably where I started to go, I think I want to do this full time.
Yeah.
So for me now, yeah, my commissions are my bread and butter, and I love it, and it will be something that I do probably forever, but that might decrease in terms of the amount. But I am really focused on doing a lot more commercial murals and marketing and things like that. So often it's just kind of when people ask me and say, hey, would you do this? And I'm like, sure, I'll draw on an elephant, or I'll paint a dog for charity. That sounds fun. Like
Yeah. Amazing. And so when you are, adding these new things, prints or a different type of commercial work or something like that, how do you sort of try to, we don't have to go fully into like strategies for this, but how in general do you figure out pricing and positioning things like that, especially in terms of like pricing and positioning things for like commercial projects versus like selling a product to consumers, don't want consumers, but customers?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's such a laced question, eh?
I know.
There's so many layers. I could talk about pricing probably for the whole
Yeah.
hour, really. Prints, I think so from the start I immediately decided I wasn't going to do I'm going to say cheap prints. I wasn't going to do affordable $20 prints that you could buy at a market, which also then immediately kind of excluded me from even doing markets because that reason. I wanted to focus on quality, so I did archival Gaikli prints, which just means they last 100 years. They're amazing quality. And so that dictated a base cost. It was a very much finger in the air to start with of like, this feels about right. But in terms of going forward now, I look at more commercial work as what do I want to be paid per hour? And then I have add-ons. That's kind of my basic structure at the moment.
Yeah.
And then through the years, it's been a really easy way for me to scale those prices for commercial work. With the personal commission side, that's been really an interesting journey because I have a very high demand for the commissions. And naturally in business, you would think, okay, well, you've got this artist on paper, let's say, that sells out in 3 minutes, which is ridiculous. Like I'm very aware it's ridiculous. And so exciting. But so they sell out in 3 minutes. Okay, they must be pricing too cheap. But I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to raise these prices to a point where no one can afford them. And so I was writing this line of, yeah, not be like valuing myself and having it at a price that was competitive and didn't mean they were selling out so quickly, but also, yeah, just making sure I'm, I guess, earning the amount I should be earning and valuing what they are. It's a very interesting topic because I think it ties into branding and the experience. And so my structure of my business now is that my prints are the affordable stage. My commissions are an experience, and that's why you pay a premium for that. And then obviously the commercial work again is an experience, but it's kind of a whole different bag. So
Yeah.
does that answer your question? Sorry, I don't know if it does.
It
Yeah.
definitely does. Yeah. Yeah. Because it definitely, what I'm thinking, from my perspective, is it does tie into branding. It's about positioning. It's about the, like you say, the experience. It's about your audience, like who are they and what stage are they coming at? Like you said, are they wanting, like, they're all obviously fans of your work, but are they wanting to, to buy something of yours because they love it, or do they want that experience, or so there's so many ways that it's tied to your brand. And I know that there's so many artists who will be listening as well, who will have be in a similar position to you as well, where they have like print or products of some kind that they're selling, but then also have these services. And it's like, how do you position both of those things and price both of those things and think about those things? It's not necessarily saying like, what do I price those things, but just how do I think about those two things? And just, yeah.
Yeah, and like who your clients are, like reflecting on the fact that, and I don't want this to come across in a like a Ponzi way, but I really think about, if I'm going to stock with a retailer, who is the person that shops at that store? And actually, are they going to be my type of client? In the beginning, though, I stocked with kind of anyone that would take me. And I completely get that we all are in very different stages, and getting your name out there is really important as well. But there does come a time, I think you have to go, okay, my value, what I want to be valued at, has to match where I position myself. So
Exactly.
that's not saying that, if you are, yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes if you're positioning yourself, let's say in a really high end boutique store, you're going to get people that will, at the drop of a hat, spend $300 on your artwork just because they
Yeah.
like it. Whereas
Yeah.
you won't get someone walking down the street and I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to give too many things out because I don't want anyone to feel bad about the stage they're in, because we've all been
Yeah.
there. But I think it's about thinking about who in future you want to be your clients. And
Yeah.
it's a very psychological thing in terms of, if someone sees you somewhere that they value as less, they're going to also value your work less, which is a really hard line to ride. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense as well to think about, like you said, like your goals in terms of the work you want to create. Like you said, I want my prints to be really high quality.
Mm.
And so for that to happen, I literally cannot charge $20.
No.
Like I have to charge a quality price to be able to produce these quality prints. Therefore, I'm going to be positioning myself as a like fine art print
Mm-hmm.
person, like
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of level of prints. And so that is going to play a part in your positioning. So
Yeah, and if you do want to do more affordable prints and you're not doing archival stuff, that's awesome as well. It's just,
yeah.
I guess, understanding who your client is and being like, right, so I'm targeting that person. Where's that person going to be shopping? What's that person going to be wanting to buy, and kind of, yeah, just addressing that. But I think it can be a really hard moment when, say, maybe you've been doing markets for quite some time and you're like, I actually really want to get some higher end clients somehow. That can be quite a hard position to be in, I think, because you're like, oh, but I love these people that I see at the markets and they're so beneficial and amazing. But I do wonder if there's a bit of a, can you be in both camps? I think that's
Mm.
quite hard and challenging. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Just some
Yeah,
pondering.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's definitely, you got to think about, like, yeah, like you said, who is your audience? Where are they? What are your goals? And how does that all play into your positioning, for sure? Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's talk about now. So we've talked about the things that you have been doing and you have been creating, but recently you have started branching into like teaching other artists how to take their art full time. So how are you now approaching promoting? We've just been talking about promoting your art, but now how are you approaching promoting like teaching or a course or like, yeah, talking to other artists about their career and things versus promoting your art?
Yeah, it's a very interesting different tact and trying to almost undo a lot of my natural instincts of selling art because it's a lot more to do with wording and trying to really understand people's frustrations and their like bugbears and where they're sitting and what they're thinking and using the words more than like my pretty pictures.
Yeah.
And I love that in the past I can be like, cool, I can let my drawing do the talking. But a lot of it now is, yeah, trying to, selling this course has been really exciting. I did a masterclass last night where I taught, about 150 people signed up, which was amazing. And it was all about kind of my strategies that I do to try and grow my business and accelerate my business and what I've learned essentially. So over the years, I've always been like, I'm not a gatekeeper. So I'm just kind of like, anyone that's got a question, let me know. So for many years, I've given out a lot of free advice and I'm totally fine with that. And I think that that's helped me in this selling stage. So it's been really like staying true to who I've always been, but it's going, okay, I've given away free advice for a long time. I feel like I've got a whole bunch more to say. And I'm starting to kind of value what that looks like and put that into a package, I guess, to sell people.
Yeah.
And I think because I've given away advice or been very open about my journey in the past, a lot of people are feeling like they trust me already, which is half the challenge because I feel very nervous about
Yeah.
putting other people's businesses in my hands,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's not really it.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's how it
Yeah,
feels.
yeah, for sure. And speaking of advice, my like last roundup question is the question that I ask everybody, but you're perfectly positioned. What advice would you give to other artists who want to brand their passion?
I would first actually touch on what kind of language you want to be speaking in. And when I say that, I mean, if I was to think about how I want my brand to be portrayed, I want it to be like your best mate. I want it to be a bit sassy, a bit edgy, like fun, but kind and approachable. So, like, I would probably suggest come up with like 5 or so words that are descriptors of how you would want to be portrayed or how you want someone to describe you and your business. And then out of that, I think a lot of the design elements can kind of come, like, you know, your logo, whether you create it or someone else creates it, they've immediately got a framework of how it's going to be portrayed. Your coloring often will come from like your art itself or your business anyway. But yeah, I would start with the language. That's probably where I would start. And that kind of gives a whole personality to your brand, like
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
You've been listening to my podcast, Ellie.
Sorry, did I say it word for word? I wasn't trying to.
No, but it's great.
Okay,
I love
cool.
that advice. Amazing. Okay, before you go, I want to tell everybody about your course. I'm gonna read what you told me, and then you can tell them any more details you want to add. So, if you're listening to this episode when it launches, Ellie's course is open right now. So Ellie's course is called Passion to Profession. It is a 6-week course that gives artists and creatives the practical tools and face-to-face mentoring to elevate your business confidence, land steady clients, and make great money, all while using your creativity as the driving force. It is aimed at people who are ready to take your art full-time but don't know how. So if that sounds like exactly what you need, which I feel like if you're listening, probably it could be exactly what you need, then all the links will be in the show notes. You can go and join right now. And if you're listening outside of the time, then you should still go and check out all of Ellie's work, and maybe there'll be enrollments in the future so you can watch this space. But do you want to add anything else, Ellie, or tell anyone where they can find you and follow you?
Yeah. So the course is going to be an amazing founders launch, and it's going to be a small group of us because I want to keep it really tight so we can get into the nitty gritty of all of your unique businesses. I'll give you like a discount like code as well, Holly, so you can hopefully pop that in there. And yeah, it's going to be really easily digestible. It's going to have all my templates. You're going to steal everything that I do. And I think the one thing that I would say is I have recently signed up to a business coach myself, and it has honestly been the most invaluable experience. I can't even explain it really. I wish I did it earlier, but I do know that we're all at very different financial stages and that these things do take time. So as a part of the course, there is payment plans and things to make it a bit more affordable. But I do think the one-on-one elements, and you've got a 24/7 hotline to just message me and video me, whatever you need in that 6 weeks. So I think that's going to be probably the biggest point that'll be helpful to people as well, is that we can just work through anything that you're working on or your goals and things like that. And I'm on Instagram, which is just Ellie Compton with 2 underscores at the end.
Yay, we love that. Okay, I
Yay!
will leave all of the links, and wow, thank you for a little discount. I love that. Sneak peek for anybody with listening. Okay, so we'll leave all of those links in the show notes. And yeah, definitely go check out the course, check out Ellie. If you want to check out Ellie's work, go get a print, go get a commission, hire Ellie for commercial work. We encourage all of the above. Okay, well, thank you so much, Ellie. This has been incredible. I have loved learning so much more about your business and about how you think about things, and I'm sure everybody listening will have learned so much too. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I've had so much fun. Thanks for chatting.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. If you enjoyed this one, it would mean the world to me if you could share it on social media and make sure to tag me at Maker and Moxie so that I can see and share it too. It really does help to get the show out there, which means that we can all work towards that Maker and Moxie vision of making the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. Thanks so much in advance, and I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, keep creating.